The war has entered a dangerous new phase, not with missiles, but with warnings. As of June 23rd, Iran is openly threatening to strike U.S. military bases across the Middle East, especially in Iraq, Syria, Qatar, Bahrain, and the Persian Gulf. But Tehran hasn't pulled the trigger, at least not yet. This is Shadows of Strategy. Let's break down the warnings, the risks, and what Tehran might do next. It started with bombs. On June 13th, Israel struck Iranian territory targeting military bases and infrastructure in Tehran, Isfahan, and Shiraz. Then came the U.S. strikes. On June 21st, American B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles hit Iran's nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. These were not symbolic actions. They were calculated blows deep inside Iranian territory, aimed at neutralizing what the West calls a growing nuclear threat. But Iran sees something else, a coordinated assault by Israel and the United States. An attack not just on facilities, but on sovereignty. And now, Iran is signaling it's ready to strike back. The warnings from Tehran have been loud, public, and deliberate. Iran's supreme leader declared, "For every act of aggression, there will be a proportionate and just response." The Iranian Revolutionary Guard published target maps of U.S. military bases, specifically Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq, Camp Arishian in Kuwait, and the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Foreign Minister Abbas Araki stated, "The presence of U.S. forces in our region is no longer tolerable. Their bases are within range." Meanwhile, Iran's parliament passed a resolution to close the Strait of Hormuz if any further attacks are carried out. That single strait controls 1/3 of global oil exports. Iran has also conducted live-fire missile tests in the Gulf and scrambled drones from underground air bases in the southwest desert. But no missiles have yet been fired at American targets. Not one drone launched against a U.S. soldier. So, what is Iran waiting for? There are three possible explanations. First, strategic patience. Iran may be building international support by showing restraint even after suffering direct airstrikes. Letting the world see the U.S. and Israel escalate first gives Iran the diplomatic upper hand. Second, military calculation. Iran knows that striking U.S. forces could trigger full-scale war, not a proxy war. Not a drone war. A real, conventional war one it might not win in open battle. Third, Iran is preparing something more precise. Not a flashy missile barrage, but a focused, high-impact retaliation delivered at the right time, against the right target, with plausible deniability. That's what Iran has done in the past, targeting U.S. bases through proxies like Kataib Hezbollah or launching cyber attacks on infrastructure. This next step may not be obvious. It may be asymmetric, hard to trace, and hard to contain. So, what happens next? The Pentagon has placed all Gulf region U.S. bases on Delta Alert, the highest readiness status below active combat. The USS Eisenhower has entered the Strait of Hormuz. Backed by Aegis destroyers, U.S. fighter squadrons have been repositioned closer to Iran's airspace. Israel, too, has intensified surveillance flights over southern Lebanon and Syria, preparing for rocket retaliation from Iranian-aligned forces. In Tehran, air defense batteries are active 24/7. Civil defense drills have begun in Esfahan and Shiraz, and military commanders are warning citizens to prepare for an extended conflict. For Iran, the choice is strategic. Strike now and risk all-out war. Wait and risk looking weak. But there's a third path. Respond not with bombs, but with pressure. Economic, diplomatic, and proxy force applied precisely with global optics in mind. That's how Iran has survived sanctions, sabotage, and assassinations before. And that may be how it navigates this war again. So the world watches. Will Tehran take the next step, or is the threat itself the real weapon? This is the moment between silence and fire, between strategy and destruction, and whatever happens next, it will reshape the region. This is Shadows of Strategy. Subscribe for our next episode, how Iran could respond without firing a shot. And remember, we'll see you in the shadows.